Oh, here we go.
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 Here we go. Here we go.
Oh, here we
Here we
go.
go.
Oh, here we go.
Welcome back to the motherfucking podcast, guys.
Hello.
I'm Lacey.
I'm Stephanie.
and this is Here We Go. And we are bringing you a juicy, hot one today.
Today we bring on my boyfriend Josh, and you know we're not one to bring on family members or relationships or loved ones or kind of barely even friends, but this was juicy, and we felt like
But also, I think everyone wants to know about a good love story.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's so
no,
fun
true.
hearing about like
how you met.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just, with Josh, like our story is interesting, but also he is interesting. Like, and I'm not just being biased. Like, he has a lot of different layers to him. He was adopted, a professional lacrosse player. He is in a interesting real estate business where they are auctioning off luxury properties. They have 45 days to do so. So there's a lot of things that you can learn about from him, but really, him being adopted was the highlight. And then our story, we were kind of open about, him and I have obviously talked about it until we've beat it into the damn ground, but we haven't ever talked about it on a recording and really in front of someone else. So, yeah.
Yeah, I will say you're going to figure this out in the episode. One of the reasons why it's juicy because the way they met and how they got together is completely unconventional, and you don't really get to hear many people talk about this kind of unconventionality. You hear about it through friends, but you don't get to hear someone openly talking about what went down, how it went down, and see their perspective and the thoughts that have to go into something. And I'm just going to say Josh met Stephanie while he was with someone else, which, I've heard of these stories all the time, but it's interesting to kind of get to see and hear what Josh has to say in his headspace during this time.
It's hard.
Yeah. And of course, we talk about this, a lot of things could have been handled a lot differently, but with a situation like this, whether how messy it was or not, this was a huge opportunity for both of them to kind of step up and grow and learn. I feel like Josh even says that he did. You were willing to fight for. There was so much that he wanted to change about himself for you.
Yeah.
Which has been, from a friend perspective, it's been great to see.
Mm-hmm.
Because this time last year is kind of when I first met Josh, and leading up to this point, I was just hearing their first month of dating was rocky. Ooh. And you're gonna hear about it. But as a friend who's receiving these phone calls of things not adding up, Stephanie's questioning her intuition, her reality, she's am I being
Sanity,
lied to?
yeah.
Everything was just what the fuck? Y'all were fighting. You felt like you were being lied to.
I was being lied to.
Yeah. And as a friend, I was like,
she's like, Stephanie, get out of this relationship.
yeah, I was like, why are you, this isn't what you deserve. This isn't this isn't how you should be treated. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, I don't know, dude. And then Halloween rolled around and I met him and I was like, oh, now I see why this is so hard. He's so easy to love.
Very
he's
charming.
Very charming, makes you feel comfortable and safe, super funny. I just remember being in the back of the car and he's just dancing in the front seat, singing to Stephanie, he's all over her. I don't know. And he's very much a people person. He made the effort to spend some time talking to me and Stephanie's other friends. And I was like, what the fuck? I don't know what to do for you either.
It became hard.
Yeah. And so everything hits a breaking point around Halloween when an email gets sent and everything kind of surfaces about this other relationship that he's in.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I should keep telling the story because you're definitely going to hear it.
Well, we didn't really talk about the email that much either, but
right.
It is even hard for me to kind of go through at this point, right now it's October and I don't know when this comes out exactly, but even every day, even though we've been in therapy and everything and we're so solid, I'm still like, oh, it's October this day, this time last year, like this was happening or I was in my head about this, or like, I mean, he wouldn't even let me tag him on photos. Like it was just like a whole thing. And it all came to a breaking point when some friends of mine sent a fake email to the other person, other girl. And, you know, I wish that would have been handled differently, in a sense of, I wish it was just an overstep of privacy, but I am glad that it was sent. But they could have just sent it from their own like names and not like a fake account.
But you ended up getting to talk to the girl.
Yes,
which
we
is
ended up getting to
exactly
speak.
what you needed.
Yes, it all happened how it should have been. It could have been handled differently, like we've said. But like, it all happened in a way that, you know, I wouldn't, as much as this all sucked, I wouldn't take our story back for anything, you know. Mm-hmm. And it was like such a learning experience for us both. And yeah, like I've wanted to open up a little bit about it, but every time I do, I kind of black out a little bit. But it was nice for him to come on today and be vulnerable, and it just shows how far we've all just come, even like with my friends, you know. It was a really good episode, you guys.
It was like, you know, I think it's very easy for people to kind of like write people off for, you know, something like this, and but I don't know, hearing perspectives and having empathy for someone, because we're all just humans just trying to figure it out. Like I was kind of in a similar position, but very different. I was like the other girl, you know, like I was kind of seeing this guy for a minute, and he was actually one of my ex-boyfriends, and we were talking for like months, and this motherfucker was stringing my ass along, but he was just promising me the world, and then all of a sudden he met someone and he dropped everything and was with her, and like she ended up moving in with him within like a month. And
wow, you were the other.
I was the other girl.
Wow.
And again, I think that could have been handled a little bit differently, because he strung me along and I had to find out about the girl on social media. Like it wasn't easy, but with me being the other girl, I was like, you know what? If he found someone that makes him do that, like drop everything, like fuck it. Like who am I to say like who you can and cannot love? Like that's his life. Like he found someone. I want to find someone that I love that much. Like at the time I was like, fuck, like he never did that for me. Like it's not in the cards for us.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of had to like send that off. Like that wasn't mine to carry. So like I get being in a position like that.
Yeah.
Like of course I don't think anyone wants to hurt anyone, but when you're put in a position like that, it's like, fuck, like what do you do?
Yeah.
Like, because you're kind of just like following your instincts and your heart, but you have like these other things where you're like, I don't want to hurt anyone.
And, I mean, that just goes further into like a reason why I want children one day, is to raise good people, like emotionally aware people, like where, hey, I've raised you enough to question your own emotions all the time, to where if you are with somebody and you meet somebody else, you will be equipped to know how to handle that, to where you're not hurting yourself and the other people involved. Because as much as, you know, that situation that I went through could have been handled differently, how many people are emotionally equipped to deal with that? And that's where I had to learn in therapy to have empathy, was like, okay, yes, you could have done this, but like also we just met. You're transitioning your entire life and changing everything you've built for me, and you barely know
in
me.
a different city,
like, different friends, like
yeah.
You didn't even live here. Like it's a lot. So like, you know, emotional awareness and having a good therapy or emotional tool belt is nice.
Right. And you know, as far as like putting in the work and like intentionally trying to change these things and like grow and owning up to like the things that you may have like made mistakes on, like that's all part of it.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot that we talk about in the episode, and I'm really happy to bring him on. Like I said, it's not just about like how we met, but it's him as a person. Like, very interesting. And yeah, this is a good one, you guys.
Yeah, we love you, Josh.
Yeah, I love you. But yeah, without further ado,
Oh,
here we go.
Welcome back, guys.
Hi.
Today we got a really quite special guest on.
And a hot one.
Stop.
Are you hitting on the guest?
Huh? Yeah. First time ever I'm going to hit on the guest.
On the pod.
Y'all, we have my boyfriend on, but there's more to you. Hi, Josh.
Aloha.
Cutie. Tell us about yourself. Introduce yourself. Why are you here? You do even know why?
Well, my name is Josh Hawkins. And Stephanie Parsley and I date.
That's not why you're here, though.
You're also known as Hank.
Yes, yeah. Hank is my Instagram handle. Henry's my middle name, and someone once called me Hank, and so I loved it. So it's kind of a self-proclaimed nickname because it never really caught on, but yeah, some people use it.
Why is that the nickname for Henry?
Is it? Hank is the
And just
nickname
like
for
with,
Henry?
what isn't it Richard? It's Dick.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Bob, Robert.
Well, that's
Oh.
there's reason in there, but Henry and Hank don't. There's two different names.
But I have a question for y'all. I mean, why am I here? Because I haven't like escaped Mormonism. I've never like been a bookkeeper at a strip club. I'm not a fuckboy. Well, I've probably been a fuckboy, but not an ethical one.
Damn.
Like,
We got a whole list for you, actually.
Yeah.
There's like multiple things that we can dive into.
There's a lot of layers to you and reasons that you're on today, other than just dating me. So yeah. Okay. Well, you're from where?
from Amherst, Massachusetts.
Oh.
I always mix that up with Michigan.
Yeah,
Like,
she was like
I'm
writing
always
out.
saying Michigan. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, Josh, like you're in Michigan right now? No, Massachusetts.
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 What was it like growing up in Massachusetts?
Well, I'm not a masshole, so when usually people think about Massachusetts, they think of Boston, right?
I've never heard masshole.
Yeah, and they're like, you think of Boston sports, it's a sports town. You think of the Bruins, Red Sox, Patriots, these rowdy fans. So you kind of think of the city, but I grew up 2 hours west of Boston in Amherst, Massachusetts, a 5-college town, very liberal, crunchy, if you like that word.
What is that?
Like earthy, crunchy, liberal,
okay.
kind of
Oh.
crunchy town.
I didn't
It'd
know
be
that
nice to
one.
grow up in a liberal area.
Where? Okay, so if that's considered crunchy, what's the South?
Oh,
The South.
Okay.
like the south of, like, do you mean in Massachusetts?
According to
no, like what would if Massachusetts might be crunchy.
I
like,
love the way you say Massachusetts.
How many S's and T's are in
Dude,
Massachusetts?
I can't spell it.
Okay.
Massachusetts.
That's how I say Sudsby's. Anyway, yeah. Wait, what were you saying?
Well, if Massachusetts
It's okay. You could say Mass. Let's go with that. It might be a little easier.
considered crunchy, what would the South be? Would it be like?
Oh,
There's a lot of words I feel like we could throw out there.
Okay.
I mean, okay, but wait, what is a masshole? Like, why? Where did that come from?
It's just a nickname for Massachusettsites, Massachusettsians. I don't know. Masshole, usually referring to the fans and like the people in Boston.
Oh.
Fucking Harvard Yard, Wicked. They have like that accent.
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
kind of like city, kind of asshole-ish.
Yeah.
Sorry, Boston people.
Okay. Well, how's your family? how? Tell us about your family.
Yeah, so in Amherst, I mentioned that it was a 5-college town. I grew up
Wow.
on one of the college campuses, Amherst College, with my family of 5. There's me, my older sister, my younger brother, and my mother and father.
You grew up on the college? Was that
On the
right?
college campus.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah, I grew up in a big, colonial home right next to the Amherst College golf course. So,
Wow.
yeah, usually there's like professor housing or, faculty housing.
Mm-hmm.
My father has been one of the deans at Amherst College for like 26, 28 years. So,
okay.
I grew up just in a very educational environment on the campus, going to the dining hall, going to the sporting events.
Wow.
And my parents adopted me.
Okay.
And my two other siblings are also adopted, all from different families.
Do they have any of like biological children of their own?
Yes. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
they do.
Okay.
Yeah, I have 4 nieces and nephews.
Okay.
And they're gorgeous. They're beautiful. My sister currently lives outside of DC. My little brother lives in Columbia, South Carolina. He actually just had his second child. He's got a boy and a girl, Princeton and Ella. And so, it's, that's kind of my family.
Well, I was asking if your parents had any like biological
Oh, no,
like
sorry.
children. Yeah.
No,
Okay.
they don't.
Why is that again?
Well, my mom has diabetes. And one of the complications that they can have is at birth, whether it's with them, with her giving birth or with the child. And she was also in social work. She was a social worker. So she was in that realm already of going to foster homes, checking up on them, and in the world of adoption. And so when it came to them deciding to have a kid, they adopted right away. And so they adopted my sister, Johanna. Hey, JoJo.
But your mom is white and your dad is black.
Yes.
Yeah. And I already know a lot of this information, so sometimes I'm just going to butt in if he forgets
I
things.
feel like you know more than me. You spent some good quality time with my parents.
Josh's mom is white and his dad is black, and they...
As well as my biological parents. They're also white and black.
Yes, Josh's... But yes, okay. And they made the decision to adopt mixed children, right?
I don't know if it was more. I don't know if it was. Hey, we want to adopt mixed kids. I think it was. They weren't worried about how we looked or whatever, because I would go to the grocery store and people thought my mom was my grandmother or that she stole me. But we are a very diverse family. Like you mentioned, they're white and black. My dad grew up in DC. My mom grew up in Waltham, which is a town suburb right outside of Boston. And so, my sister's like Cape Verdean and white. Cape Verde is an island off of the northwest of Africa. My little brother, we never really knew what he was growing up. And so, just like a very mixed family. So like when you see us all together, we do look like a biracial family. And that definitely made it easy growing up in a very liberal town where we're used to, brown people, black people, whatever, all colors, all sexual orientations that, it just made it very easy. Like it didn't feel out of the norm to see other adopted families or other biracial families. Like I had a lot of friends growing up that, had biracial families. So it was just a very beautiful and easy place to grow up. And so, I was very, very thankful for that. They did a good job.
What is your ethnicity?
Yeah.
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 What's in your blood?
What's in my blood? Well, I'm Zimbabwean, first generation Zimbabwean, which is a country above South Africa or in South Africa, and Irish.
Literally 50-50.
Yeah, well, I did during the pandemic. I did 23andMe or one of them, and it actually was. That story is pretty funny because it took me a while to do it. I don't know. I just never really cared to do it. I ended up doing it, and then they came back and it was during the pandemic, right? And they're like, I got an email. It was taking months, and they're like, oh, actually, we're not a company anymore. Like we're not gonna finish your testing.
Wow.
23andMe?
It was
Or one of them.
Ancestry. It was Ancestry.
Wow.
And I'm sure that was because of the pandemic, right? But and then a month later, they're like, "Psych, we got you." And so, it was a mixture of different African countries and different
But it was like
European countries. But yeah, they equaled out to being 50-50 because.
But what was the actual? It was like at all. Like what was it like? Southern people, like Southern
Buntu.
Buntu.
Yeah, Buntu. Buntu.
And like all
Buntu.
of these
Buntu
little
peoples.
African areas, all of that percentage equaled up to 50%, and then the rest was exactly up to 50%. Dublin, Ireland. Like,
Well, that would make sense, right?
what?
That would make sense.
Yeah, well, I was just like, well, I mean, like a lot of people can say that they're Irish, but it'll be like different percentages and
Right.
everything. And I just was like, he's literally mixed, like 50-50. Like, wow. But something that I don't know. I think your parents were intentional with the decision for mixed.
Like I said, you had some like really good quality time with them recently. I wasn't there, and you're good at asking questions, so you might know a little bit more than I do.
Yeah, like I had a conversation with his mom, and she said that whenever Josh was adopted at 5 months old, and when he was a baby, he was completely white and had
translucent,
like so white and had red, like a red little afro, basically, like red hair. And then
They said I looked like Ronald McDonald's son.
yeah, and
Oh my God.
there's two stories there's two situations with Josh's birth that is so interesting to me. And the first one is that whenever he was about to be adopted, his other family was about to adopt him. And
What?
when
Really?
yeah, when they got the blood work back and found out they were a white family, and when they found out that you were mixed from blood work, they decided that they were shocked because you were completely white
Wow.
and ginger.
They missed out.
Yeah, and they passed. They were like, never mind, we don't want a mixed child. And so then your mom and dad were like, they were called because they were. It was very hard in Amherst to find a biracial couple willing to adopt.
Wow.
And so they called them. They were first in line right after that to get you. And on the day they were going to oddly pick up Josh, his mom saw him for the first time and was like, I don't know, like he's white, like are you sure you want to do this, Michael, Josh's dad? And he was like, Jeannie, we're here. We're not passing him.
They call that your adoption day. And
Yeah.
they go and like pick you up. So you're already adopted. You've already changed your birth certificate legally at a court, and it's now time to pick you up. And yeah, she was like, Michael, are you sure you want to do this? Like, do you want to raise a white son? And he was like, Jeannie, we're already here. So we've already done this.
Yeah.
Like,
What was your birth name?
I had two. I was because when I was born, I forget how it goes, if it was Peter or Travis, but Peter and Travis. When I was born, it was one of those, and then I went to a foster home for a few months before I was actually adopted. I think
you were born Travis.
I was born Travis, yeah, and then the foster home called me Peter.
Who
and
gave you the name Travis?
my my biological
Wow.
parents, yeah.
Wow.
Which is also an interesting story about how
I love this story.
got together. And I learned more about this recently when I was, Stephanie and I were back home for my mom's 70th birthday a couple months ago in September, but or a month ago. But yeah, they basically had a one night stand.
Who?
My birth parents.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And, I mean, you kind of know more about the story.
I would love to tell this story.
Okay, go ahead. You got it.
Okay. Ow, I just hit myself in the face. Okay, so I have been so curious about Josh's birth parents, which I feel like I've been more aggressive about finding out who they are, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But finding out about Josh's so I was hanging out with Josh's mom, and she was like, oh, I've been wanting to talk to you about this. I tried to talk to Josh about this, but he was on his phone and wasn't paying attention.
It's not like me.
And she was like, because we've been trying to figure out how to find Josh's dad. There has been less interest, and my mind has been more focused on his dad compared to his mom, because I was always under the impression that the mom never wanted based on the story that you told me, wanted you or whatever. And I was just like, whatever. But we had always been under the impression that his dad fought for Josh and tried to get him, but he was, not a U.S. citizen from Zimbabwe.
He was black from Africa, and it was the 90s.
Yeah, and he was a teacher, a professor at a university. Anyway, and so she told me, she was like, I just thought about this after 30-something years. We could always call up to the university for the years that Josh was born and just ask for the faculty, to figure out the list of faculty. I'm sure there were hardly any black professors in the 90s from Zimbabwe there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. And so on our way to the airport, we were just kind of talking, and she told me so much about his birth story and like what happened. And basically, Josh's birth mother was in a relationship with another man who was white for a couple of years, and they were on and off. And during a short amount of time, they broke up, and she had a one-night stand with Josh's biological father and didn't know she was pregnant with Josh until 5 months into the pregnancy. And she was having some surgery on like her gallbladder or something. And because she was 400-something pounds, and they had no idea that she was pregnant until she was on the table. And by that point, she was already back with her boyfriend. She has a son, and she just was like, I can't disrupt this. I can't disrupt this, what I have going on. So she decided to give him up for adoption. And whenever they were, because for adoptions, both parents have to sign off on the rights to him. And when they contacted Josh's biological dad, he was just like, in my country, we don't do this. Like when we have a child, we take full responsibility for them. Like, I don't want to do this, but seeing as how there's already a family that wants him so badly, like, and can give him the life that he deserves, I'll do this. And so, Josh also found out through this conversation, had a wife and also a daughter. So Josh has 2 siblings out there.
Maybe more.
More, yeah. And, but 2 for sure. And, so I just thought that was like super interesting that because I think you've always thought too, like your mom didn't like want you, just gave you up and all this stuff. And your dad really like fought for you, which is true. But, she really did make the best decision for him. Like your life would be so different now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just crazy too, because when I met Josh has also been like on this vegan gluten-free diet, and I've seen his body shift from one way to like a little string bean now. And that's why I think it is really important to find out who your parents are, just even for health reasons and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. There's your little adoption story. I mean, like, have you not ever been, like, even after that? Oh, well, no, because, yeah. Okay. Here's another interesting thing is that we did call up to the university. You want to tell this and how this happened?
Yeah, it was just, this is a kind of a silly story, but after those conversations that Stephanie had with my parents, they're like, oh, we could just call North Adams State or North Adams University or I don't know what it is, and ask for, a list or whatever of the professors from the 90s. And my dumb ass I
was like, before you do this, do not tell them that you're looking for your father and that this man could be your father.
Yeah.
And then as we're like kind of getting in there a little bit in the conversation, she's like, why do you need to know this information?
Like, I think I'm trying to find my father.
And she got quiet. She was like, we cannot.
She's like, yeah, let's transfer you to HR. and then I was on hold for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, we just hung out. So we're just kind of back to square one.
One day,
figuring that out.
I'll figure it out.
Damn, if someone else picks up the phone, maybe you could try again.
No, I've got a list of lies. Or like we could always just go up to the university and like
go to the library. Or
Yeah,
something.
and just try to figure it out. But
Wow.
how did it feel like growing up being adopted? Like knowing you were adopted. Like when did they tell you?
Yeah.
That's a great question. I think everybody that's adopted has kind of a different answer for that, but I know a lot of people that I've talked to either like had a traumatic moment where they found out and they had no clue for a while, or it was like in my case something where it was just always kind of known, and just the way that they brought us up, that it was just normal. It was very normalized, and I think having an older sister that was adopted, that conversation had already happened, with her. And so it wasn't like, you're adopted. And I was like, oh, what the hell? It was, my parents have always been my parents. I was adopted at 5 months. So it was like, oh, well, cool. Okay. Like, when are we going to soccer practice?
Yeah.
Like,
When do you remember them telling you? Like, what was that first moment like?
there really isn't like a first moment. Like, it was something that was always known, but there was a moment that sticks into my head. And I don't know how adoption works now, but when you're adopted, when I was adopted, you would get adoption papers. And it's basically like the applications that both sides fill out. And so for my biological parents, it's like, what's your job? Like, what are your hobbies? What are those grandparents doing? So it's like an application, like if you're applying for a job or something. So I remember when I was like 14, I believe, my mom being like, hey, Chubby, that's her nickname for me. She still calls me Chubby. I wanted to, give you your adoption papers, and I wanted you to have a chance to read them. And so that moment really sticks out in my head because, there were certain things that I read and I was like, oh, okay, like, my birth father, was 5'10" and enjoyed stamp collecting and gardening. And my birth mother was 5'2" and obese.
That's
so like,
all they have about her? They don't have her hobbies?
I don't remember what her hobbies were.
Wait, 5'2" and
Meth,
400
maybe? I don't know if that was.
Stop.
No.
God.
I just think
Hobbies are
Wow.
meth. Well, do you remember like did you ever want to find who your parents were? Or were you mad?
No, I had such a great upbringing, and I was just, I was very blessed to have the parents that I have and the siblings that I have, that there was never really a need. As I've gotten older, I think I've thought about it more in terms of health reasons and things like that. I wouldn't be like seeking a relationship, per se or anything, but there were a couple times throughout the last 30 some years that I thought about it. One was in college. I won a Division I national championship, and I was like, wow, like this would be really cool if they knew, what's happened the last 20 something years of my life. I was on an airplane going to Texas for the summer, and I started writing a letter to my father. And so that was like one of the times that I did that. And I reached out to my adoption agency at the time. They're now closed. And, for more information, because once you're 18, you can get more information. So I was 20 something, and I reached out to them, and they sent me a letter back, requesting, I think it was like $275, and then we can start the process or start giving you more information. And I was a broke college student, and I was like, fuck that. That pissed me off. And so I was like, whatever, I don't care anyway. So there's been a few different moments.
Wait, you said they blacked out the years. All you had to do is pay $275?
Yeah, I would rather have spent that like on beer. And
so is it blacked out?
yeah, since then that information has been blacked out. So
Wow. Wait,
and the
why?
adoption agency closed. Massachusetts did this thing where they blacked out like periods, 20 to 30 years of adoption records. So like you have to go to court and you have to pull the records and do all this stuff. So
Why would they do that?
I don't know. It's a good question. I haven't really looked into it.
So this is now the second time you have been very close to finding out your parents, and it's been just like a little bit of something, and you could have just done it just kind of.
Yeah, at the time it wasn't as important.
With your siblings, like, have they sought out to find their parents
Oh
or
yeah,
like their
they have
biological
interesting
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah. So my older sister Johanna, thank you Tom from MySpace. She found her birth mother on MySpace, or they found each other. Her birth mother found her, but she was
Whoa.
also living locally.
And she's
She
a
w-
singer,
Yeah, she was like a singer
musician, like
Wow.
and she
stuff.
travels and stuff. And she actually came and saw Joanna at a birthday, like one of Joanna's children's birthday parties, and
See, these are details I don't even
spent
know.
some time with her, and like they're involved. But then your brother,
Yeah, my brother, same thing. Recently, or not recently, a few years ago, his birth father and him found each other, and I believe that was through Facebook.
but
So-
that isn't a good situation.
Yeah, I think his father is not,
So-
the ideal father figure.
Yeah.
But thank you, Mark, for Facebook, social media.
Wow.
Like, it's pretty cool that they were able to do that. So
Yeah.
I don't think they have like really strong relationships, but I think there is a missing place in my story, for that discovery. So I'm kind of jealous that they've had that discovery. But it'd be something to talk to them more about. I've got kids now and stuff. There's other things. I'm like good for FaceTime and Venmo. But I should reach out and talk to more, ask them more about that. But
Wow. Yeah. How do you think it would feel like to have a conversation with one of them?
I think, I think, on your guys' podcast, you always talk about trauma. And, sometimes you could probably feel like you're navigating life and that you haven't had a traumatic moment. But I think that would probably be mine. So that would probably, solve something in there.
Oh, yeah.
Like you not having, like, what would be the traumatic moment? Like with you not knowing
My traumatic moment would be that not knowing my birth parents, and not knowing what they look like. I remember in 4th grade in Mr. Burgoyne's class, we were going around the classroom in a circle. You'd sit on the rug and you sit in a circle and like you do stuff.
You do things.
Yeah, we were talking about what physical features you share with your parents. And I was like, oh shit.
it's getting closer to you.
And it got to me and I was like, I'm adopted, so I don't know.
Well, and what's interesting is that literally the first time I saw Josh, after like actually getting to see him and a light not being in my face, I remember looking at him and thinking, oh my God, he's perfect. He's not from here at all. Like he has to be European or like some type of other country. Like he's just not. Yeah. That's why I want to know what his father looks like so bad. Cause I'm like, I have to see what this person looks like. Like, cause you just look so interesting to me.
For the longest time when people would ask me what I am, I would say confused. And it was I don't know if it was the best answer, but I think I was kind of being a little fresh because in my eyes, it was like, why does it matter? Why are you asking me? So it's like, you're kind of confused for asking me that. And so it was, I don't know, for forever, I would say that.
They would just be like, what are you?
Yeah, people would be like, what are you? Because I look confusing. Especially when I had dreads. I had dreads down my back and
like really pale.
when I would go through an airport, I'd like little babies would cry. They didn't know if I was like a male or female. Like, it was like, I just looked so different. I mean, even to this day, like a buddy of mine was telling me a recent story that he was with some friends and he told them a story about me. And this girl was like, wait, he's black. So I don't know. People are just, people are confused, I guess. By
Whoa.
How do you feel about adoption as a whole now?
I think it's great. Like, I think it's, something that people should look into more. I know it can be hard, but I also think there's so many kids out there, right, that don't have families and that are still in foster homes, and foster homes can be really bad. People can become foster parents and really abuse that system. And like my little brother was in a very abusive foster home because, the people taking care of him, his foster parents, needed money, right? And when you're foster parents, you get a check from the government. And all they cared about was that check. And so, he was basically caged up for the first 3 years of his life. So when we adopted him at 3 years old, mentally and in terms of his development, he was like 5 months old, like a year old. Like he was so behind, right? And so adoption's super important. And even if you have kids, social media is so cool these days too, because you can see all these parents that, promote that on there and have really different looking families and, that still go out internationally and in our country and adopt people. It's something that I think about too. Like when I think about the future and if I have kids, if I would adopt or, I still think about my sister and my little brother too. If they would ever adopt, I don't know if they would, but adoption's great.
2 thumbs up.
What are your views on abortion since you were given a chance?
I look at my older sister and my little brother, both of their situations and their first kids not being planned, and them going through with that birth and abortion not being even like part of the question. And I think probably some of that has to do with them being adopted, right? Like they were, wanting to give this person a chance, this little life a chance, whether it was through adoption or was just keeping it. And so, I mean, I think, everyone has should have a choice for sure.
Cute.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah.
What else y'all got for me?
Let's see.
Lacey, a year ago about this time we met.
Really?
Yeah.
What is this?
It was
wow.
Grizz. Grizz.
Yeah, wow.
concert.
Oh, y'all met at Halloween?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Because I remember being like, as soon as I met you, I was like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah, because prior, Lacey was like, what the fuck?
I was like, Stephanie was like calling me literally every 2-3 days. And I was like, Stephanie, like, I don't know about this. And then, like, I don't know about this one. Like, and there was just so much going on, which I don't know if y'all want to dive into
we
that.
will, but not right now.
Which we could if we're on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did y'all meet?
It's gonna skip a lot. Okay.
We met at what was the band or
Star
DJ?
Kitchen.
Star Kitchen. We met at a show at New Conscious, a venue in Denver. I was there with my buddy, and I turn around and I see this beautiful ginger standing in the middle of the room, and I was like, whoa.
I just stepped down the little stair, and he was like, right there.
I was like, yeah, I need to talk to this person.
Wow, I love that.
So I walked up to her and I was like, your hair is amazing.
No, you were like, I love your hair.
I love your hair. Yeah.
I wish more people he said the mermaid shag is so in. I wish people, or the shag cut is so in. I wish more people did that. And I was like, yeah, like I couldn't really see him because like the light was in my face. I was like, thank you. And I just like kind of start walking away. And he's like, well, what's your name?
What a bad like line. Like the mermaid shag is in.
No, so cute. And then you were
Listen,
like,
I appreciate the hustle, the chase, because I have yet to be chased. So like I appreciate like the effort.
I'm sure there's people out there chasing you, Lacey.
yeah,
Like, you know, like
you wouldn't know.
some
so.
viable options.
Yeah.
I could shout out your address. I'm sure we'll have a line
Oh
outside.
my god! Well, somebody
I'm
already
just
found out.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. But
Yeah, she's got a little stalker out there.
yeah.
No, but we met and Stephanie like turned away and I was like, well, my name is Josh. And she was like, oh, well, my name is Stephanie.
Wow.
And then the night kind of went on, and she ended up leaving.
Because we had stopped. I was like orbiting around him after I realized how hot he was.
Orbiting.
I was like, kind of like, he'd be over here and I'd be like, I'm just going to go stand kind of over here.
Who did you go with?
Daniela. Her name's Daniela. She's a
Okay.
friend in Denver. And I had just gotten back
Thank you, Daniela.
I had just gotten back from a wedding in Seattle where I had told my second shooter there at the wedding, I was like, you know what? I am done dating. The kind of guy that's for me is going to be the kind of guy that when I walk into a room, they come up and talk to me because I've never had that. And that's the kind of guy that's for me. And literally the next night, I go to 5 shows in one day. And on the last show, I walk in and he comes up and talks
No, it
to
wasn't
me.
the last show because you actually left
Oh, right. We stopped flirting with
To
each
go
other.
to another
to
show.
go to another show.
We had stopped kind of like, I was like orbiting and like I stood next to him and then he walked up to me and he was like, I'm so attracted to you. And I was like, oh, great.
And then you left?
Well, and then like he like went off.
She went to another show.
I went to another show because I was like, you know what? No, like I don't need to be talking to anyone. I just need to be like on my own or whatever. And I go to this show and it like, I was like, this sucks. I really, you know what? Fuck it. I hope that guy's there. So I get an Uber back.
She forgot my name.
Book. I did forget his name. I book it back and I stood there. There was like nobody left at the show. And I was like, fuck, he's gone. I missed out. And then he comes up behind me and he's like, you're still here. And I was like, you're still here. And then I started asking him questions like, where are you from? And he was like, I live in Hawaii. I've been here for 40 days. I leave in 3 days. And I was like, well, fuck. Okay. In my head, I was like, this is just going to be a nice little one night stand. And I was like,
Cover your ears, kids.
this is explicit. And I was like, well, do you want to go to this party with me tomorrow? This concert. And he was like, yes, I'll do whatever you want. Like, I'm there. And I was like, okay. And then he was like, can I kiss you? And I was like, yeah, you should. And then we just were making
Always
out on
ask
the
consent.
Yeah. And then we were making out on the dance floor for a second. And I was like, let's go back to my place. And then we never left until 3 days later. And it felt really good. It just felt like.
Felt natural.
It felt really natural. Yeah. And we said that the first night, we were like, this feels so right. It feels so, so good.
Yeah.
And then he left.
I remember you calling. I remember you could hear on the phone like you shutting your door and you were just crying.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you? Because Stephanie never cries. I cry. Stephanie never cries that much around me. And she was crying. I was like, are you crying? And she was like, yeah. I was like, wait, why? And she's like, I don't think I'm ever going to meet someone like that again.
Yeah. I was like, I just met the guy that I'm supposed to be with and he's leaving. Like, this really sucks. And I was like, that is literally the person I'm supposed to be with. And he's gone. And it was the night that you were really tired and you went to go to sleep. But then we saw each other the next night. But yeah, it was just, I don't know. I like our little story. But then he left and then, yeah. So.
Dun, dun, dun.
What happened? What were some complications getting to the point you are now?
Oh, well, thanks for asking that question, Lacey. Wow. Thank you.
Our story is not as like cookie cutter,
but
I love it. I love our story.
Before you tell the story, I must say that I was talking to Stephanie about this yesterday, that I think so many people go through what you both have gone through. Like, it's not uncommon. Like, I've had it happen to me with like old rich dude, like that one.
Old rich dude.
No, he's not old. But like ex-boyfriend situation, I don't know. He fucking left. He left my ass, and because he found, and it wasn't with like he was with me. He wasn't like with me, but he found a connection that like completely changed his life. And I was like, well, I can't be mad at this person for just finding someone that he loves. Like, I can't be mad at him for literally just living his life. He's following his instincts, and like, love is love. Like, fuck. Like, it obviously it's not a thing between us. Like, if he found it, go fucking, like, get out of my lane. Like, get out of
Yeah.
my life. Like, go fucking have a great
Yeah.
time. So I'm just saying that,
That's really mature of you.
well, you know, you got, that's, you got to look at it that way.
You handled it well. I did not.
Well,
I was on the other end.
She was on the other end.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So
And-
I'm just
Well,
telling
right.
you that.
He might have handled it well. I
So
don't know.
if whatever you're about to say, I just need to let you know that it's not uncommon, but we just never hear stories like this. We don't hear people talking about it. You know, you hear
It's
of
very taboo, and they don't talk about
you
it.
hear of the girl or, you know, the guy the one who gets left, but we never hear the person who finds another connection.
And like what they had to go through on deciding what to do in that process, you know, it's hard.
yeah,
It
so
is hard.
I guess now that we've kind of like buffered around it, how do we say
Well,
it?
so we met, and when we met, I was in another relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and so, you know, like you said, I found that connection. I was like, whoa, holy shit,
Mm-hmm.
this is like what I want. And so it was really like, you know, I went to another state for another project. You know, when I work, I spend 30 to 45 days in that location. And so I was in another state, and we kind of, you know, we were talking here and there.
Little. It's the communication dropped, and that's when I was like,
The communication dropped.
and I did a little creeping, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
he's seeing someone.
And, you know, so I was in another relationship, and, you know, we were going through our own things at the time, and, you know, trying to figure that out. But in my mind, I couldn't get Stephanie out of my mind. Right. And so, you know, kind of fast forward through that month in another state and another project, I finished that project, and I had another opportunity to come work back in Denver. And I was like, holy shit, like everything happens for a reason. Right. And so, when I got back to Denver, Stephanie and I started talking again. And I was still in that other relationship. And, you know, I was trying to figure out how to end that other relationship, and I drug it out, because I didn't want to hurt that person. And in the end, I was hurting two people instead of one. And, you know, I should have been more responsible with all of that. And it was, you know, something that we had to go through in the first month of our relationship that was very damaging to, you know, three people.
Really, probably more.
More.
All the
yeah.
friends.
All the friends got involved.
I mean, that story's wild.
Didn't you
as
guys
well.
call me like Hawaii guy or something? Like,
Oh,
I could just picture like
did y'all?
You did.
Hawaii,
you're
Hawaii
When
guy.
we first met.
You're always like, Hawaii guy.
Oh yeah, that's kind of like
Yeah.
Just like
I
Hawaii
could
guy.
picture like Ida and they're like, Hawaii guy sucks. Fuck Hawaii guy.
I mean, to preface though, when I found out you were in another relationship, I told you we were not communicating anymore, and I
Right.
was under the
Right.
impression that, and we didn't speak for weeks, you know,
Yeah.
because I was like, let me know when you're on another way.
Oh, and you were so badass about it. You sent me this long text because you like to drop like novel text sometimes. And I still remember it. And dude, it was so sick. She was so badass. She was like, at the end, she was something like, whenever you're ready, like, let me know.
Ladies, you heard it here first. Text like
need-
that where you put your fucking foot down. They're like,
Men need
"Oh."
boundaries, damn it.
They're
Yeah.
like, oh shit, she can't have me. Like,
Yeah, he said that changed. He was like,
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I was like, holy shit. I was like, wow, okay, this is a woman.
And we didn't. And then he was like, he never responded. And
I responded to that a couple days. It was a day or two later.
And then I was just like, you confused me even more. And then I just, again, put it further. And I was like, we didn't speak. And then all of a sudden, I'll never forget this, on September 18th, FaceTimed me for the first time out of fucking nowhere and was just like, hi, I'm coming back to Denver and I'd like to spend time in the mountains with you. And I was just like, I'll do whatever you want. And so, yeah. So I just wanted to say it was not continuing to speak to him,
Right.
knowing the fact. But yeah.
Yeah. No, but the overall situation was, a huge learning moment for me, and definitely grew from that. I had never been through something like that. And,
I don't think a lot of people do. Like, they do and they don't. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and as much as I was so mad, I was also in therapy after having found out, because that was a big ball drop. Like, whenever everybody found out at the same time. A few days later in therapy, she was like, have you ever been with somebody and met somebody that you're supposed to be with? And I was just like, no. And she was like, have you ever been with somebody, met the person you're supposed to be with, and then but they have a whole other life with somebody somewhere else and they barely know you? And I was like, no, like, to all these things. And she was like, this is where you could learn to have empathy and realize that this is not as easy as you think it is, and not everybody is as emotionally equipped to deal with things like this. And I was like, granted, like, it was a learning experience. Everything could have been handled better, but I was just like, damn, that is really hard to just go through.
Yeah, like you had you were seeing someone where you lived, like your home base
back in
at
Hawaii.
the time.
Yeah.
And so to meet someone who lived in a completely different area, you only spent like 3 days with, like, that's kind of
big ass risk you did.
Yeah, that's a
Nice.
huge like risk. Like, I can't even imagine being in that kind of headspace, because it's like you literally almost had to decide, like, hey, am I going to start a whole new life right now?
Right. Yeah. A whole new, yeah. And that's what I was, struggling with. And, that relationship that I was in was a fresher relationship, a newer relationship. It was less than a year. I traveled a lot during that relationship. I was in a place where, I probably wasn't treating that relationship fairly from the beginning, like without Stephanie. So it was, before that happened, before I met her. So, I was being a fuckboy. And that was, something that I learned from, and like being in that situation, like you said, you love our story. I think everything happens for a reason. And so, I'm thankful that it happened the way that it did.
Yeah, me too.
It's really interesting to go through something so like dramatic or traumatic or significant, whatever word you want to use.
Within the first
month,
couple of weeks, really.
Yeah.
Because the whole month of October, we were just arguing because that person would pop up and I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, and it was hard. But then, we've now gone through more things within the first year than more people ever will. And it makes it so when arguments pop up, it's just like, okay, like, we've made it through that. We can make it through this, and I wouldn't change the story for anything, because it showed how badly we wanted to be together. And coming out of a year of me dating and just kind of seeing everybody's half-assedness, even on my end, I just was giving up on everything. I was like, no one wants to be with anybody anymore. Everybody's just like so self-absorbed. So this situation, I was like, I want to be with him so bad, even after the fact. And he wanted to be with me so bad, even after the fact. And it just, the respect for the relationship and each other was different. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's really telling of your character. Like, thank you for like, giving me another chance, and sticking with me.
And my friends.
The whole posse.
Yeah, he had to have a sit-down convo with everybody after, especially Ida.
Aww.
Yeah, I had to, but it was good.
Yeah, I remember that during the first month, there was just so much confusion and like, is this happening? Like, is it not? And
because I couldn't even tag him in photos.
He was
He was a little
fly on the wall.
fuckboy.
Yeah.
You were a little fuckboy for the first month, but I got a little, I'm like, damn, he's fucking capable of that. Like, wow. And then now you are just totally different.
A lot changes in a year.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like 30 pounds less. I'm a vegan. I didn't think I'd be sitting here with you guys
Yeah.
last year.
Well, whenever we got back together, we talked about this yesterday in our episode. We got into therapy together, and it was
Yeah.
that was
you
a
go to
whole
couples therapy.
Yeah.
Like, a lot changes in here. Wow.
Yeah.
it's immediate, but yeah.
What was it about the relationship that has made you change like everything? Like, because I feel like you have put in a lot of work to make this work.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So like, what is it about this relationship that's worth fighting for?
This person,
Aw, cutie. What a
right?
question.
It's this person, you know?
Cute.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's just simple. It's like,
Turd.
you know, if you want to make something work, you're going to change, right?
Yeah.
It's, you know, what's that saying about like, you can make time, you know, if you want to do something, you'll make time for it. Right. It's kind of the same thing, right? Like if you want to change, you can change.
Yeah.
And you know, I wanted to change, you know, and I wanted to be with her. And so, you know, making those steps, whether it was couples therapy or, being vegan.
Just kidding. That's his decision.
That had nothing to do with it. You know, you're gonna make those changes. So it came pretty easy, you know.
Mm-hmm. Wow. What was it about Josh that you were like, fuck everything else?
Oh no.
It was just the energy it was the way he loved me so fast. Like it was instant.
Like the sureness.
Yeah, like leaving New Conscious, knowing each other for 4 hours. He was stopping at red lights, kissing me, making me laugh so hard, and getting to my apartment. I lost my keys. My neighbor had to let me in, and just like,
thank you, Jamie, for saving us. I could have not been a thing.
And it was just how he fit in my energy instantly, like, and also the fact that when he walked into my bedroom, he knew what kind of bed sheets I had. That was a good one. But no, it was just
Shout out citizenry.
I have never been so physically attracted to somebody so quickly, and then energy attracted to somebody so quickly. There was no other option for me at that point. And I remember Lacey and I went to summer camp festival a few days after you had left, and we were sitting in the grass, and I was
on mushrooms,
and
feelings.
and
Nice.
I was really upset because I had started putting it together that you were seeing somebody, and I remember telling her that, and I was like, you know, I think he's seeing someone, and I was like, and it just sucks because that is what love is supposed to feel like. What I experienced with him, that is exactly what I want. Like I was like, and it sucks because I've never felt anything like that before, and I had it, and I was like, and Lacey, this was for 3 days. And I remember her looking out in the horizon. She's like, yeah, that sucks. We were just like, yep. And then I remember he texted me the next morning, and I was so embarrassed. I was texting you at that time, telling you how clean the festival was. And I was like, I would never like nervously text people. And I was just like, I can't believe I said this to him. And you didn't respond. And I was like, fuck.
Yeah, this festival's so clean.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, it's this clean festival. And then the next morning you were like, that's great. Like, I was just like, fuck. But yeah, it was just the fact that energy, it was just not for what, having known you for a couple of days, it was the energy that you had with me. And like, we immediately held hands. Like everything felt like we had been together for like 6 months already within 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just the easiness of it. I'm not a game person.
No, listen, y'all. I've been reading the book Attached recently, and it's really fucked me up. I'm absolutely an anxious attachment style. And most of the partners that I've been with are avoidant. And it was saying, like, there's a lot of avoidant people out there. There's a ton of secure people, too, but, like, there's just a lot of anxious, whatever. And so I feel like, I don't know, to have someone that is, like, they're committed, showing up, reliable, the touch is there, like affirmations, like it says a lot, because
it's hard to find.
In my experience, and I'm not unique in this, like it does feel like a game. Like as soon as you get close to someone, they back away, and like you're like, wait, did I do something wrong? Or they purposefully aren't available. Like you said, if you want something, like you can make it happen. Everyone has the same fucking 24 hours in a day. It's just how you prioritize things. Like you can, you can make someone a priority, like easy. Like everyone lives the same 24 hours.
Right.
Wow.
So yeah, like I think it is admirable to like have someone that it's like, no, like
we were always on the same page.
Yeah.
Minus the being with somebody else part. But like we were always on the same page as far as like wanting to be together. They're just they're him leaving and us having that space to realize how, you know, we thought about each other every single day and didn't even speak to each other. Like that was so key too. But yeah. So anyway,
y'all good now?
We're good now.
Next question.
Yeah, let's get back to.
With that being said, that y'all have been through so many obstacles, like probably more than a couple has in their first year. A couple months into dating, y'all actually have to deal with a pregnancy. So, it was only a couple months that y'all were dating.
No, it was like 3 to 4.
That's a couple.
That's a few. All right.
Oh, okay, a handful.
Yeah, and it, you know,
What's the question?
I guess what is the question?
I mean, you know, I've spoken on that.
Yeah, I was just. Yeah.
Well, I guess well, how have y'all?
How did you have to feel out? What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, how did y'all make that decision?
Because you were adopted, and I didn't even realize that. How hard it was on him until after, because I was struggling with the decision so bad, and I didn't think that he was, because
I wasn't struggling with the situation. I thought it was very easy for me, and that was, you know, this is up to Stephanie. And whatever, you know, advice or opinion that I could provide, I did, which was, you know, I'm game either way. And
but you had told me, you know, because I was like this at one point, my emotions were so high. I was like, this isn't even hard on you. And you were like, actually, it is.
Yeah. Well, and it was, and it goes back to being adopted. It goes back to my sister and my little brother having kids, and, you know, that not even being on the table for them. And so, yeah, there was that piece of, you know, we should have it, because, you know, I mean, life is just such a hard situation, you know, to think about, you know, keeping a life or not keeping a life, how long, you know, along someone is or not. And so, you know, it was hard in that regard, but it was simple in the fact that it was, you know, it was Stephanie's choice. But then we agreed, you know, yeah.
But I was like, the emotions were so high. 'Cause like at first I was like, you know, we had found out together. He kind of let me know via a dream. And I was like, I just had the same dream.
That's
like,
right. It was about,
he was in Hawaii, and, he was in Hawaii, and
that's wild.
I was in Arkansas, and I had just woken up from a dream where I was bleeding all over the place. I was just sitting on a toilet. There's blood on the walls and me. And I was like, I woke up and I was like, oh, a little gross. That was weird. And, you know, being 4 or 5 hours ahead of Josh, he calls me later and he's like, I just woke up from a dream where you were pregnant. When are you supposed to start your period? And I was like, oh, I was supposed to start 2 days ago. I was like, I'm sure it's just from traveling, whatever. But seeing as though we both just had the same dream, let me go get that figured out, and got a test, and within literally 5 seconds it was like pregnant. And, you know, at first I was like, no, absolutely not, like, do not have time for this. That's not how I wanted to create a life on accident. I just wanted to be purposeful with it. And
it was kind of purposeful.
I mean, it was, yeah, it kind of was.
No.
It was and it wasn't. But yeah. Anyway, and
for those that don't know, Plan B is only 50%. What is it? 50%.
It doesn't. And if you weigh at the time, this was like when I was like almost my heaviest. it doesn't work for women over 155 pounds.
And it's not,
That's
people think it's
crazy.
like 100% accurate or 99 or 90% accurate, but it's not. And
Yeah. And
Wow.
so
I thought it was a bad plan.
it was a bad plan. It was my plan. And whatever. Anyway, but then as my, being even pregnant for like a few weeks, my emotions were insane. Like I was crying 3 times a day for no reason.
It was hard to talk to you.
It was hard to talk to myself. Like it was crazy. Like, oh yeah, we got into a fight.
Yeah,
like,
I was like, I'm just gonna try and hold in on this. I don't
Yeah.
know what we argued about, but I was like,
yeah, no, it was hard. It was hard for me to even, I felt very alone on that. And like, but because I was just like, maybe I should, like, this happens, everything happens for a reason, blah, blah, blah. And then I was going back and forth on things, and Josh was being firm because that's what we had decided when I was clear-headed. And then I was like, this isn't even hard on you. Like, you don't even care. And he was like, actually, this is hard on me. Like, I was adopted. I was given a chance. Like, this isn't an easy decision for me. This isn't how I wanted to, like, it's not easy. And yeah, I never thought about it. I was like, damn, like, I didn't think about being adopted, like what people who are, how people who are adopted feel about abortion. Like, it's just interesting. But yeah,
Yeah.
so.
We hit the fast forward button really quick on our relationship.
yeah, I know. Are y'all slowing down yet?
I feel like it.
Yeah.
We're in a good place.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We're going the good old 25 miles per hour.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
sometimes 45.
That's a little
School
cruise.
zone.
That's a Hawaii cruise.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, let's go back into more questions about you and get away from me. You played a professional sport. You mentioned winning a Division
D1,
I
yeah.
national championship. What sport was that?
I'm a lax bro. No,
Okay.
I played lacrosse. I grew up playing all sports, but in 4th grade, I picked up a lacrosse stick because I saw a team playing next to one of my sister's soccer games, and I was like, "What sport is that?" My dad was like, "Oh, it's lacrosse. I played in college," and I was like, "Okay, cool. Like, can we try this?" And so, working at a college the next day, he got me a lacrosse stick from the Amherst College lacrosse coach, and I never put it down. It was such a combination of all the sports that I played growing up: soccer, football, basketball, hockey. I never played hockey though because
Okay, I was
I
like,
really
what?
wanted to. No, but my mom, we went to tryouts, and my mom, or like sign ups, and my mom was like, "I'm not waking up at 5 a.m. like to bring you to," because ice time is like really early in the morning, and
Wow.
and so. Like, yeah, hockey practice would start like at 5 a.m. or whatever. And she was like, "No, we're not doing this one." I was like, dang it. But yeah, so I played lacrosse since 4th grade. I played all the way through college. And then after I played professionally for 6 years, yes, there is professional lacrosse out there.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it feels like a different lifetime, or, a whole different part of me. But, yeah, it was, it brought me to a lot of cool places, met a lot of cool people. It was definitely interesting experience for several reasons, but it was a very huge part of my life for a while.
Well, but also you were really good at it, and you were playing I guess lacrosse is a Native American.
It's a Native American sport, yeah.
But the issue is that now it's kind of, it's like whitewashed a little bit, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't say it's an issue. I think it's, there was a time where it was only a Native American sport, and then, like a lot of things, it was colonized, which isn't a bad thing in the lacrosse world, because it's it's brought in the sport more attention, and it's more of a shared experience, and it's a very sacred experience in its roots and its tradition. And there's a few Native American lacrosse players today that are kind of the spokesmen of the tradition and the history of it, and so that's always been a part of the message. And that's what I think is so cool about it. The Native Americans the sport of lacrosse for them was a medicine game. And so it was started from the creator, and it was used to prepare for war. It was used to celebrate life. It was medicine for them, in, you know, whatever facet they wanted to use that. And so, yeah, it was fun.
Well, did you experience like racist situations being probably surrounded by?
It is a very white dominated sport. Yeah. And so I repeated my junior year of high school. I went to Amherst Regional High School for 3 years. Very liberal, school, very diverse school. But our sports sucked. They were horrible. And I wanted to play sports in college. I didn't want my parents to pay for college. And so, you know, I had a dream of like playing football or lacrosse in college, and like, you know, getting a scholarship, and Amherst Regional High School wasn't cutting it. So I transferred to Deerfield Academy, a very affluent private boarding school in Massachusetts, and repeated my junior year, and I spent 2 years there. So that's kind of where that lacrosse experience for me started, in a very white dominated school, but then also a very, you know, predominantly white sport. And yeah, and then in college having 47 teammates, and you're the only black one, in a very white dominated college or university. There were definitely.
Is that where you failed your drug test, or was that in high school?
I failed my drug test in college. Yeah. Yeah.
They did a random select, and they looked at Josh, and they were like, "You."
There was a
with the
teammate.
dreads.
There was a teammate that was doing cocaine, and they caught him. And the AD came into the locker room and said, "We're going to weed this out. We know he's not the only one doing drugs." And they did a random drug test, about 5 or 6 of us, and I would say 90% of the team, 90% of the team was smoking weed. But that's also one of the reasons why I chose that school, because there wasn't, you know, mandatory drug tests by the school. And I shouldn't say that was one of the only reasons, but I had a cousin that played Division I football at UNC, and he dealt with that, and so that was kind of part of the situation there. So anyway, yeah, I failed a drug test during that time, and it didn't look good that the black kid on the team with dreads failed a drug test.
What was the? Go ahead.
But yeah, so there was a lot of different experiences that I had playing Division I sports, and
What about the rule that was made because of you?
In regards to playing lacrosse, well, there was a rule change because I played a defensive role, and every year there's a coaches meeting or convention where they change the rules or they update the rules or whatever based on that season or whatnot. And so I had a really good season, and I used to, when you play lacrosse, you have a shaft or a stick that's metal. Sometimes it's titanium. There's all different types of whatever. And so you use that to hit people, and that was like my job, was to hit people with that shaft. And so,
like where?
Just anywhere. You playing defense, like one-on-one. But I ended up changing a rule where I would hit them like right on their hip, like bone, like really hard, and that shuts down your legs when you're running full speed. And so it was called cross-checking, and I was an avid cross-checker, and it would look violent when I hit people like this, and I would get flags just because it looked so violent, even though I was within the rules.
Yeah.
And that was fun. I enjoyed that. Wow. I took a lot of anger out as in college on the field, hitting other kids.
So I know like other teams like study the other teams players.
Yeah.
So was like Josh Hawkins.
The scouting report on Josh Hawkins was do not dodge against him.
Wow.
Find someone else to dodge against. And if you do, like, be ready. No, I don't know what the scouting report was against me.
I mean, it could have been. I briefly like dated someone that like played lacrosse against Josh. Like it was like a random connection.
Oh yeah.
And I remember bringing y'all up, whatever. I brought you up to him, and he was like, "Yeah, I definitely remember him," or vice versa.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like,
Like,
yeah,
you
because
remembered, yeah,
yeah, and he remembered you because of your dreads, right? Yes.
something like they were like, we study the team players. And,
Oh, yeah.
and they
I
were
was
like,
It's
I was
Cody.
on the scouting report.
When did you decide to leave, and what was that like?
Leave playing lacrosse.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped playing. So I played 6 professional years of lacrosse. Kind of all over. I played for a team in Canada, in Vancouver. That
is
was
that like your job when you're playing like that?
yeah. So
Okay.
professional lacrosse, it's different in the last few years. It's definitely more of a thing that you can do without having another job. But we didn't make enough money that it was all that we did. Everybody had another 9 to 5. Like I had teammates that worked on Wall Street. They would jump on a train on Friday from Wall Street when I was playing for Boston, from New York to Boston with their lacrosse bag. We'd practice Friday night. Everybody flying in from different places
Wow.
to play a game on Saturday. And then, both teams would go out with each other Saturday night. And then Sunday morning, everybody would fly back home. So like kind of weekend warrior type aspect to it. And, with sponsorships and brands like Adidas and, this new professional league called the PLL, it's becoming more of an opportunity for people to just do lacrosse. But when I was playing, no, we had other jobs. But I stopped playing in 2018 was my last season. I played for the Denver team. I moved from Boston to Denver. It was the only season out of my 6 seasons that I didn't have another job. And so I had a buddy living in Denver, and I picked up golf, and I played 38 days in a row of golf.
Wow.
After?
No, during the season, because I would go work out, then I would go to.
Were you making enough to be? Just
Yeah, I
doing
was
that?
just like, I'm not gonna. And I had quit my job in Boston. I moved to Denver, and I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't looking for a new job. I was like, I'm gonna play this season and figure it out. And so I was a professional lacrosse player, and only a professional lacrosse player in that final season, which was a lot of
Okay.
fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you just like relieved to be done?
Yeah, we actually won the championship that year. And this was like on the cusp of me getting the job that I'm currently in now. And we won the championship, and I was more excited that we won because I could be done, like just my competitiveness and like doing it for 6 years. I was like, I gotta win one. And so we won, and I was like, yes, I can be done. So I was just like immediately knew that I was never going to play again. So that was relieving. And I didn't want to get stuck in that. I wanted to change careers,
It's a
and I wanted
whole
to get
other
into something
world.
else.
Like
How long can you play
he has friends that are still playing.
Yeah.
professionally?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's
There's
just
just like football or any other sport, you have guys that like stick it out and they play in their 40s or something, like Tom Brady or
Yeah.
there's guys in lacrosse that have played, and they're in their 40s. So
What
Wow,
do you,
that's
what,
crazy.
what do you do now?
so in 2018, after that season, I have my best friend Phil. Shout out Phil.
Oh
Love
my
you.
gosh.
He was working for a company, he still is working for a company called Concierge Auctions that does luxury property auctions all over the world. And I thought that was really exciting. I always loved homes and real estate. And, so I got an opportunity to, go to an evening open house in Denver. And so I go to this evening open house, and I meet Jack for the first time, Jack Hoyt. He's a good friend and colleague. And he was holding this open house, and it was kind of like, all right, go to this open house, see if you like it, talk to Jack, introduce yourself to some of the colleagues, and then we'll go from there. They referred me, and I went down to Austin, Texas for a week of training. And, so I've been doing that ever since. It's an interesting job because we're going to a place for 30 to 45 days, and we're partnering with the current listing agent or the current listing agent that's been trying to sell this house for whatever reason. It's now going to auction, whether the sellers want
It's not a foreclosure.
a date certain sale, or they are, it's a very unique property, and, there are no comps, so we do luxury homes, that we broke a record here in LA last year for a home in Beverly Hills for 144 million.
Oh, the
one house.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, anything down to 2 million or it's kind of our minimum. But yeah, it's a very, very interesting way to sell a house, but my role is very, very interesting in that, I'm having to build a field of bidders, usually about 3 to 7 bidders that end up bidding on one property, and have to do that in 30 days where, most likely this house hasn't sold for 3 years. So we really, speed up the process, and take these homes to auction. And it's been an amazing experience. It's taught me so many different things. It's, like life, this job has been a roller coaster. You have your ups and downs. I think real estate in general is a roller coaster, right? Because the market and just all these different, things, and being commission based and stuff like that. But it's been an awesome experience. I was that little kid that would go to other kids' houses growing up, and I would be like, oh, this is dirty. Or oh, cool house. This is sweet.
Yeah.
And I really knew, I just I always had this kind of
interest.
Interest for homes. I was that kid that would rearrange my room.
Oh God.
Every week.
Yeah.
My mom would come upstairs and she'd be like, Chubby, really? Again? She's like, oh, I like this one.
He's so clean too. The first day he came over, he was cleaning my sink, and I was like, uh-oh. This dude is cleaner than I am. And we share the same love for architecture and everything. But I mean, essentially your job is you have 45 days to sell millions of dollars worth in property that probably hasn't been selling for a year or so.
Yeah. It's really hard.
How do you find those bidders? What's your formula to find bidders?
Oh
Charm.
gosh. No, well, so it's funny. They call us the Navy SEALs of real estate. We hop on a plane, we go somewhere for 6 weeks, we fuck shit up, and then we leave.
Wow, that's true.
And so, there's so many different avenues. I've met a bidder at a bar. I would go to, the nicest bar or restaurant in a city, and I would start talking to the bartender. Oh, why are you here? Oh, I'm selling this house. Here's the cards. And then I go back to the restaurant, and, businessman to my left, businessman to my right, businesswoman to my left would be sitting there, and the bartender would be like, oh, how's the auction going? And then they'd be like, what auction? And then I'd be like, well, let me tell you. And so there's so many different ways to do it, but open house every single day, traditional real estate, you'll have, maybe once a weekend or a couple a month. We do open house every single day for 45 days,
Wow.
1 to 4 p.m., sitting at this house, signs all over the place. We're, we like to say we're a marketing company that happens to sell real estate via auction. And it's really however way you want to do it. And that's what I really love about our company, is that we have people in my position that are from all different walks of life, look very different, are different ages, and work very different. And, it's a sales role. So you find your niche and you find the way that you do it and what works best with you. I won an award last year. It was
What for?
It was called the Agent Friendly Award.
Aw.
That's one of our core values, being agent friendly.
Okay.
So one of the
You
things that I like
are.
to do is become really good friends with the agents in the market. And a lot of people still don't understand what we do or have never heard of us. So becoming friends with the agents, educating them, and, letting them know that this is a really cool way that they could make a commission in 30 days.
Wow. Want to let them know?
What do you not like about the real estate industry, or the one that you work? What do you not like about it? Is there something? I genuinely don't know.
I think what I don't like about real estate is that they don't teach it in school.
Oh, interesting.
And maybe some do, whatever. I don't know. My experience was, just I don't know, a lot of people, you learn taxes later in life. You learn what a mortgage is later in life. I just wish that people knew more about real estate. And then when you look at gentrification and these other things, block busting, steering, these different ways that ethnic groups are pigeonholed into the places that they live, the communities that they live in. It's horrible. It's bad. And so, yeah, I would say that's kind of the worst thing about real estate is that there's some discrimination and injustice in that space. So yeah.
Cute.
Wow. Any more deep questions, Steph, or should?
I think I've got it all from.
Damn, this is great. But we have 3 questions we want to ask you.
That have nothing to do with this. So you already know what they are.
Is it the same 3?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, we could have come up with new ones for you, but
Wait, when do we say, oh, here we go?
Oh.
Well, we on the outro we'll get that in with you.
Dang, we missed that part.
That's usually in our
I've
intro.
been waiting for that.
I know, he really has been.
Always wanted
Okay,
to do that.
outro.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what is your favorite way to cook or eat a potato?
Cook or eat, I would say as a vegan of 7 months, it would just be a French fry would be my favorite way to eat. Like I'm learning that like I can eat French fries everywhere.
Except McDonald's.
Except McDonald's because there's some other stuff in it. But
Oh wow.
I like a thin, crispy, like nicely
Those little stringy
salted,
fries?
herbed, like French fry that's warm, hot.
Warm.
To cook it though, I would say in the air fryer. Stephanie and I have an air fryer.
Okay.
Have we even done that yet?
Yeah, I've made you fries.
When?
Get her.
Josh, when?
I've made you fries before.
Josh,
in the air
when?
fryer. I don't know, when you first got the air fryer.
Josh, no, you have not.
Okay. Well, it'd be an air fryer.
Okay. What is, if you could be a gold medalist at any Olympic sport, summer or winter, which one would it be?
Well, fun fact, lacrosse is coming back to the Olympics.
Oh, that is
wow.
a cool fact.
Yeah, it used to be in the Olympics, and then I think it was like 63 or 64. I think it's even years, right? So 64 or something like that. It was no longer in the Olympics, but it's back. So that's the easy one. But like growing up, I loved the Summer Olympics, and I loved the 100-meter dash, and being able to call yourself the fastest man or woman in the world, I think is pretty freaking badass.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. Last one. Would you rather smoke weed on the beach or trip psychedelics in the desert?
Am I by myself?
Yeah, this is your utopia. Whatever you want to make it.
We can be together if you want.
Well, smoking weed on the beach is fun in Hawaii. I like that. Or psychedelics. Where? Psychedelics
In the
where?
desert.
Oh, in the desert?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Oh, you don't like the desert?
I don't know. Like, you get like see a mirage or something.
Oh my God.
That's the
I
point.
bring up a mirage one time.
I would say mushrooms in the desert.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're talking
That's
to
fun.
the right girls.
Yeah. I'm like,
That's
you
fun.
better say that. Damn.
Peace, love, ass, and titties.
God.
For reference, there's a sign in my house that says that.
Yeah.
It's not just something that Josh ever says.
Your apartment is super cute, by the way. It's so you.
Aw.
All the colors and disco
Thanks.
balls and mushrooms and
One
stuff.
day it'll be bigger.
Yeah.
But it's cute. It's
I'll
cute.
sell you the house.
Oh.
Yeah, if you have an auction, let me know. Maybe after my first TV show.
Aw, yeah. Thank you for coming on.
This has been really fun.
Oh, yeah.
You're really cute.
I read a quote the other day when we were Landra, your stylist person thing.
Yeah.
I was like reading this book, and there was this quote. I don't know who it was from, but it was there's a special place in hell for women that don't help each other.
Wow.
Oh.
And that reminded me of y'all too.
Aw.
Not going to hell, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, well, just like you guys helping each other and like knowing you guys for the last year and your podcast and
Yeah.
your individual careers and then you guys helping each other. So
Yeah.
Cutie.
Thanks.
Aw. Thanks for coming on and being vulnerable with us.
yeah.
Well, if there's anywhere to find you, if you want to be found, you can say it now.
It's very easy. Hank Hawkins at Hank Hawkins on Instagram.
I'll leave it linked down below.
Thank you for coming on. And Lacey, you want to give us an outro with Josh's help?
Oh, yes. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for making it this far. Please leave us a review or comment on Instagram. Everything of ours will be linked down below as well. My Instagram, Stephanie's, and Oh Here We Goes. We also have it linked to our other social sites like TikTok. We are trying girls on there. So if you want to find some of the what the fuck moments, they're on TikTok.
There'll probably be some of this session on there. So
yeah. Okay, but on that note, we'll see you in the next episode. And
here we go.